A temperature roller coaster is about to throw 200 million Americans into chaos. Minus 20-degree wind chills this morning, 80-degree heat by Thursday, then back to freezing by Friday. And this isn't ending next week. This extreme pattern extends all the way through January. At the 5-minute mark, I'll reveal the exact 12-hour window when travel becomes a death sentence across 8 states. And at 3 minutes 50 seconds, you'll discover why meteorologists are calling this the most dangerous December storm setup in 15 years. But first, you need to see what's unfolding across the Pacific right now. 2 massive pressure systems are locked in battle. A gigantic high-pressure dome sits over the eastern Pacific. A deep, low-pressure trough hugs the west coast, and trapped between them is a conveyor belt of moisture that won't stop. Atmospheric river after atmospheric river. Storm after storm, with no end in sight through Christmas. Washington and Oregon face flood threats through December 28th. That's 10 straight days of flooding risk. The National Weather Service has already issued advance warnings. They rarely do that unless confidence is extremely high. Rivers that haven't flooded in decades are about to overflow. Again, Northern California sits in the crosshairs. Higher elevations could see 5 to 8 feet of snow by Christmas Eve. Some peaks might exceed 10 feet. That's enough to bury cars completely, enough to collapse roofs, enough to cut off entire communities for days or weeks. But here's what nobody's discussing. Rainfall totals. Of 10 inches or more through Christmas Eve, on already saturated ground, on soil that can't absorb another drop, where does that water go? Into rivers, into creeks, into homes and businesses. Landslides become inevitable. Mudslides will close highways. Entire hillsides could let go without warning. If you live on or below a slope in these areas, you're in danger. Not might be. Are. The pattern shifts south over the weekend. What hammers Washington and Oregon Wednesday through Friday pivots towards Southern California Saturday and Sunday. Then another system lines up for next week. The cycle never breaks. Storm, brief pause, storm, brief pause, storm. California faces a high-risk designation for mountain snow. That's the highest category. Multiple feet of accumulation guaranteed, roads impassable, communities isolated, avalanche danger extreme. Idaho, Montana, and western Wyoming sit at moderate risk. Still significant, still dangerous, just not quite as catastrophic as California peaks. Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and the Cascades face a slight risk. That still means 1 to 3 feet of snow in higher elevations, still enough to strand travelers and close highways. In just the next 7 days alone, these regions will accumulate 3 to 6 feet of snow, and that's before the Christmas week systems arrive. You're looking at potential 15 to 20-foot seasonal totals by New Year's. Unprecedented. Now watch what happens when this Pacific energy moves inland. Wednesday morning starts quiet for most of the country. Cold across the east, mild across the west. Normal December weather. Then everything changes. By Wednesday afternoon, a powerful storm system slams into Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. Heavy rain at low elevations, heavy snow in the mountains, and winds that will shock even veteran weather watchers. Tight isobars develop. That's meteorology speak for pressure differences over short distances. Think of it like water pressure in a hose. The tighter you squeeze, the faster water shoots out. Same with air. Tight pressure gradients create extreme winds. Wednesday evening, winds ramp up across the northwest. 50 to 60 mile-per-hour gusts become common. Some areas could see 70-mile-per-hour gusts. That's Category 1 hurricane force. Inland, in December, trees will fall, power lines will snap, buildings will lose shingles and siding. Anything not secured becomes a projectile. And this is just the beginning. Thursday morning, the storm explodes eastward. The energy that started over the Pacific now barrels across the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, and Minnesota. Atmospheric vorticity spikes. That means intense rotation in the atmosphere. Intense rotation means violent weather. Thunderstorms erupt ahead of the system. In December, across the northern plains, with severe weather potential, damaging winds become likely. Large hail is possible in the strongest cells, and tornadoes can't be completely ruled out, though they're unlikely. Behind the storms comes the real threat, Arctic air. Not just cold, Arctic. Temperatures crash from the 42s into the teens in a matter of hours. Wind chills plummet to -20 to minus 30 degrees across the upper Midwest. And here's where it gets deadly. Ground blizzard conditions develop Thursday across the northern plains. You don't need falling snow for a blizzard. You just need high winds and snow already on the ground. Wind picks up that existing snow and creates instant whiteouts. One second you're driving 70 miles per hour on a clear highway. The next second you can't see your hood. Zero visibility in seconds. That's how multi-vehicle pileups happen. That's how people die on winter highways. Thursday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, represents the danger window. 12 straight hours of potentially lethal travel conditions across North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, northern Kansas, Minnesota, and Iowa. If you're planning to drive through these states Thursday, cancel your trip, reschedule, find another route, do whatever it takes to avoid being on those roads during that window. Your life is worth more than your schedule. Wind gusts Thursday will reach 60 to 75 miles per hour in the strongest areas. The European weather model shows winds even stronger than the American GFS model. When the European model is more aggressive, that usually means worse conditions than initially forecast. Both models agree on widespread damaging winds. Both show the moderate risk expanding. What started as a slight risk earlier this week has grown into a moderate risk affecting millions. And it could still grow larger. Power outages are guaranteed. Not possible. Guaranteed. With those wind speeds, power lines will come down. Transformers will blow. Entire counties could go dark. Could be 100,000 customers without power. Could be 500,000. Depends on exact storm track. Utilities across the region are pre-positioning repair crews. They're calling in reinforcements from neighboring states. They know what's coming. They're preparing for worst-case scenarios. You should too. Thursday evening, the storm races into the Mississippi Valley and Ohio Valley. Same intensity, same winds, different landscape, more trees, more power lines, more infrastructure at risk. Severe thunderstorms fire up ahead of the cold front. The Storm Prediction Center will likely issue severe weather outlooks, damaging wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour in the strongest storms. Isolated tornadoes possible, especially across southern sections. And behind the storms comes that Arctic air again. Temperatures that reach the 50 seconds and 60 seconds Thursday afternoon crash into the 20 seconds Thursday night. A 30 to 40 degree temperature drop in 6 hours. Your body can't adjust that fast. Neither can roads. Friday morning brings the system to the northeast. Interior areas get snow. Coastal sections get rain and wind. But everyone deals with dangerous travel. Ice develops overnight as temperatures crash. Black ice forms on bridges and overpasses. Accidents spike. By Friday afternoon, the worst is over. The system moves offshore. Winds decrease, precipitation ends. Just bitter cold remains across the northern tier while the south starts warming up again. And that brings us to the extended pattern that has meteorologists baffled. Saturday, temperatures rebound. The south climbs back into the 60 seconds and 70 seconds. Parts of Texas could hit 80 degrees. The north stays cold but not dangerously so. Teens and 20 seconds replace single digits and below zero readings. Sunday brings another weak system and another brief cool down. Nothing severe. Just enough cold air to remind you it's still December. Northern Oklahoma through the Ohio Valley into the northeast will feel the freeze. Wind chills back to minus 15 to minus 20 inches the upper Midwest. But here's where the forecast gets really interesting. Christmas week. The Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day temperature outlook shows above average temperatures coast to coast. Not just the south. Everywhere. The 14-day outlook extending to December 28th shows the same pattern. Widespread warmth. How warm? Potentially record-breaking warm. Computer models are projecting temperatures 20 to 30 degrees above normal for Christmas Day across much of the country. Dallas could hit 85 degrees. Houston 82. Even Chicago might reach 60. If those forecasts verify, this would rank among the warmest Christmas periods in recorded history for the United States. Not just warm, historic. What's driving this pattern? The Arctic Oscillation. Right now it's hovering just above neutral. That means cold air stays locked in Canada and the Arctic. It can leak into the northern U.S. occasionally, but it won't penetrate deep into the southern states. The result? The southern half of the country stays consistently warm. The northern half experiences brief cold snaps followed by rapid warm-ups. Nothing locks in place for extended periods. Just constant temperature swings. As we look toward January, the pattern suggests continued warmth for most of the country. Cold air remains bottled up in Canada. We might see it dip into the northern lower 48 periodically, but no signs of a deep, prolonged Arctic outbreak for the majority of Americans. Of course, January forecasts carry significant uncertainty. We're at the edge of reliable prediction, but current data and pattern recognition suggest a milder than average January for most regions. Now, let me walk you through the detailed timeline hour by hour for the critical period. Wednesday, 6 a.m. Pacific Time. Storm impacts begin in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. Heavy rain starts, mountain snow intensifies. Winds increase to 30 to 40 mile-per-hour gusts. Wednesday, noon Pacific Time. Winds ramp up to 50 to 60 mile-per-hour gusts. Heavy rain continues. Flooding begins in low-lying areas near rivers. First power outages reported. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Peak intensity for the Northwest. Winds hit 60 to 70 mile-per-hour in strongest areas. Widespread power outages. Tree damage extensive. Travel becomes dangerous. Thursday, 6 a.m. Central Time. Storm center moves over the Dakotas. Thunderstorms develop ahead of system. Cold air masses behind it. Wind gusts reach 50 miles per hour and climbing. Thursday, 9 a.m. Central Time. Ground blizzard conditions develop. Visibility drops to near zero in blowing snow. Interstate highways close. No travel advisories issued across multiple states. Thursday, noon Central Time. Peak intensity for the northern plains. Wind gusts 65 to 75 miles per hour in strongest locations. Impossible travel conditions. Emergency services suspend operations. Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Time. Storm center moves into Minnesota and Iowa. Intense conditions persist. South Dakota and Nebraska start seeing gradual improvement, but still dangerous. Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Time. Severe thunderstorms erupt across Missouri and Illinois ahead of the cold front, damaging winds and isolated tornadoes possible. Cold air crashes south behind storms. Thursday, 9 p.m. Central Time. Temperatures plummet. Areas that were 50 degrees at 6 p.m. now dropping into the 20s. Roads flash freeze. Black ice develops. Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Storm impacts the Northeast. Snow in interior areas. Rain and wind along coast. Dangerous morning commute. Accidents spike on icy roads. Friday, noon Eastern Time. Storm begins moving offshore. Conditions gradually improve from west to east. Cold air settles in behind system across entire eastern half of country. That 36-hour period from Wednesday morning to Friday noon represents the highest impact window. Everything outside those times is manageable. Everything inside those times is potentially dangerous or deadly depending on location. Now, let's talk about what you need to do right now to prepare. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, especially near rivers, monitor water levels constantly. Have an evacuation plan ready. Know your routes. Keep your gas tank full. Pack important documents in waterproof containers. Don't wait for evacuation orders. If water starts rising, leave early. If you're in mountain areas receiving heavy snow, stock up on supplies now. Assume you'll be cut off from towns for several days. Have food, water, medications, and heating sources that don't require electricity. Generators should be outside with proper ventilation. Carbon monoxide kills silently. If you're in the northern plains or upper Midwest, Wednesday is your last chance to prepare before Thursday's storm. Stock up on groceries, batteries, flashlights, and anything else you might need. Charge all electronic devices. Fill vehicles with gas. Assume power outages lasting 24 to 48 hours or longer. If you're in the Ohio Valley or Northeast, prepare for rapid temperature changes and severe weather. Have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. NOAA weather radio, smartphone apps, local TV. When conditions deteriorate quickly, you need immediate notification. If you're traveling this week, strongly reconsider. Especially Thursday. Thousands of flights will cancel. Highways will close. What should be a 6-hour drive could take 14 hours or become impossible. Build in massive flexibility or postpone travel entirely. For everyone, check on elderly neighbors, relatives, and friends. They're most vulnerable during extreme weather events. A simple phone call could save a life. Offer to help with preparations. Make sure they have heat, food, and medication. Here's something most forecasts won't mention: the economic impact of this weather pattern. When temperatures swing 50 degrees in 48 hours repeatedly over several weeks, infrastructure suffers. Roads heave and crack. Potholes multiply overnight. Water mains burst from freeze-thaw cycles, building materials stress beyond design limits. Cities and counties across the affected areas will spend millions on emergency repairs. Road crews can't keep up. Maintenance backlogs grow. The damage we see in December won't be fully repaired until spring. Businesses lose revenue. Workers can't reach jobs. Supply chains get disrupted. Deliveries get delayed. The ripple effects extend far beyond the immediate weather event. Economic impacts persist for weeks or months. Agriculture takes a hit too. Livestock struggle with rapid temperature changes. Feed deliveries get disrupted. Fruit trees can be damaged by extreme swings. Soil freezes and thaws repeatedly, affecting spring planting conditions. The weather we experience now has consequences next growing season. Energy markets react as well. Natural gas demand spikes during cold snaps. Prices increase. Then demand plummets during warm periods. Prices drop. The volatility makes planning difficult for both suppliers and consumers. At the 20-minute mark, let me address the question everyone's asking. Is climate change causing this? Weather patterns have always been variable. Extremes have always occurred. What's changing is the frequency and intensity of those extremes. Temperature swings that used to happen once a decade might now happen once every few years. Atmospheric rivers aren't new, but their intensity and persistence appear to be increasing. Warmer ocean temperatures mean more moisture available for storms. More moisture means heavier rainfall. Heavier rainfall means worse flooding. This particular pattern is driven by specific atmospheric configurations. High pressure locked over the Pacific. Low pressure tracking across North America. Jet stream waves amplified beyond typical ranges. These configurations happen naturally, but they may be happening more often and more intensely. The science is complex. Attribution is difficult, but the trend is clear. Extreme weather events are becoming more common, and communities need to adapt and prepare accordingly. Regardless of the cause, we have to deal with the reality of what's happening right now. And what's happening is a multi-week period of volatile, extreme, dangerous weather affecting most of the United States. Here's what to watch for in the next 48 hours. The National Weather Service will issue winter storm warnings for the northern plains and upper Midwest. When you see a warning, that's your cue to take action. Not prepare, act. Get supplies now. Secure outdoor items now. Complete preparations now. High wind warnings will go up for multiple states Wednesday through Friday. Don't ignore these. Winds strong enough to warrant warnings cause real damage. Secure anything outside. Park vehicles away from trees. Postpone outdoor activities. Flood watches for the Pacific Northwest will continue and likely expand. River forecasts update multiple times daily. If you're in a flood-prone area, check these forecasts constantly. Water levels can rise faster than expected. Local TV meteorologists provide region-specific details. National forecasts can't. They understand local geography. They know problem areas. They know where flooding typically occurs first. Trust their local expertise. Social media can spread weather rumors quickly. Verify everything. Stick to official sources. National Weather Service, local emergency management, trusted meteorologists with credentials, not random posts from people without weather training. As we approach minute 23, here's the single most important message. This December weather pattern is extraordinary. The temperature extremes, the violent storm system, the ongoing West Coast flooding, the warm Christmas outlook, none of this is typical. Typical responses won't be adequate. You need heightened awareness, greater flexibility, willingness to change plans on short notice, because conditions will change rapidly and sometimes unexpectedly. What's forecast today might shift slightly tomorrow, and slight shifts in storm tracks create big differences on the ground. Weather forecasts are guidance, not guarantees. Models improve constantly, but they're not perfect. There's always uncertainty, always variability, always the possibility conditions evolve differently than predicted. That's why you check updates frequently. That's why you don't make critical decisions based on a single forecast from days ago. Information changes. You adapt to new information. And look out for each other. Weather events reveal the best in communities. Neighbors helping neighbors. Strangers helping strangers. That's when humanity shines. The next forecast update comes Friday evening after Thursday's storm passes. By then, we'll have observed how the system actually evolved. We'll have 48 more hours of data. We'll be inside the critical 5 to 7 day window where forecast accuracy improves significantly. Friday's update will cover Christmas week in detail. Specific temperature forecasts for December 24th and 25th. Updated snow totals for Western mountains. Updated flood outlooks for the Pacific Northwest. And the first detailed look at what January might bring. There's also potential for additional storm systems around December 27th or 28th. Too early for specifics. But the Pacific pattern suggests continued activity. Christmas week might not be quiet even if it's warm. This update will also assess forecast accuracy. Did the storm track where predicted? Were wind speeds as strong as forecast? Did flooding reach expected levels? Verification helps us understand how well models performed and adjust future forecasts accordingly. This is a historic December weather pattern, not because any single element is unprecedented, but because everything is happening simultaneously. Extreme cold, extreme warmth, violent storms, catastrophic flooding, record snowfall, damaging winds, all within 1 week across one country. This is why weather forecasting matters, why preparation matters, why staying informed matters, why taking warnings seriously matters. You can't control weather, you can only control your response to it. Smart responses save lives. Smart responses prevent injuries. Smart responses minimize property damage. Smart responses mean checking forecasts daily, adjusting plans as needed, helping others, and remembering that weather systems always move on. What's intense today is gone tomorrow. What's uncomfortable now will improve. But you have to get through today first. And getting through today safely requires information, preparation, and smart decision-making. You have the information. You have the timeline. You have the warnings. Now use that knowledge to protect yourself and your family through this extraordinary weather week. The next comprehensive update drops Friday evening with full Christmas week coverage, extended January outlook, and analysis of whether this pattern signals what we can expect for the rest of winter. You won't want to miss what's developing as we transition from 2024 to 2025. Until then, stay weather aware and stay safe.